Hello and welcome to today's ASHA webinar on searching for recipes and ingredients in Genesis R&D. My name is Alicia and I'm joined by my colleague Brian. And today's webinar continues topics related to tips for successful use of Genesis R&D. Note that Brian will demonstrate some of the features and filters in Genesis, but I just want you to know that most of these search and use concepts apply to the food processor software as well. Before we get into the main topic, let me give you a little background on ASHA research. ASHA was established in 1981 and has grown from offering one of the first nutrition and labeling software solutions to a full suite of products and services, including Genesis R&D Foods that we're showing today, Genesis R&D Supplements, the food processor for dietary analysis, and the ASHA Consulting Services that provides labeling services, formula review, and their expertise for customized projects. Genesis R&D was introduced in 1991 to help address the need for convenient formula analysis and formatting NLEA food labels for U.S. regulations. Over the years, Genesis has remained the go-to standard for product development, recipe analysis, and nutrition facts creation, as well as restaurant menu analysis and reporting. We offer label modules to prepare compliant labels for the US, for Canada, the EU, and for Mexico. And just a reminder, if you have any questions about the version that you're running, your license or your account, please get in touch with the ASHA sales team at sales@asha.com. Coming up on November 17th, we'll highlight the latest enhancements offered in Genesis R&D version 11.11. We're currently rolling out this version. Cloud users may have already seen their updates, and additional updates are coming. The current cloud subscribers always have access to the most recent version as soon as it's available. So again, if you're unsure of your account status, or if you are not yet running the cloud version and are interested, please get in touch with the sales team. We will be adding more topics for next year's webinars, so look for more information soon on the ASHA website in the Events tab. And there you will also find recordings of our previous webinars. As always, the webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive a link to the recording as well as the slide deck following the webinar. Please note that if you have any questions, send those in right away. We have colleagues standing by, so you can submit through the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll try and get back to you right away during the webinar. If we can't, if we run out of time, or if your topic needs a little more research than the time allows, we will follow up with you directly. And today we'll be discussing general search techniques in Genesis R&D and demonstrating specific searches like the nutrient search, advanced searching, the where used search, searching with groups, and we'll end with some Q&A. So to jump into it, in Genesis, it's common that you'll perform searches by the names of ingredients and recipes. And in previous webinars, we stressed the importance of using consistency when naming your ingredients and your recipes, the ones that you add to your software. This helps with searching for existing items. And of course, if you have multiple Genesis users at your organization, you all want to use the same naming conventions so you can all find what you're looking for. We have product and supplier fields in Genesis to help you further describe, track, and search ingredients and recipes. And there are a variety of code fields in the software that can help you record specific information for your records. And I'll go into a bit more detail on each of those in just a few minutes. In general, when you perform a search by name or phrase in Genesis, the search results appear in this order. You'll see frequently used items. So Genesis remembers the items that you use most frequently, and it places those at the top of the search results list. Then you'll see user items. These are the ingredients that you've added to your software. So you can see here there's a color coding. Here you'll see darker green indicate the items that are user added or those that you've added to your software. And then following those two are the remaining matches that best match your search term. By default, there's a limit of 400 items in the search results. You can increase or remove that limitation, and that's found in the My Preferences settings of the software. And in this search results screen, you can choose the columns that you wish to display. So if you right-click in Genesis in this screen, you'll see a list of the columns that you can choose from to show on this screen. When searching names or phrases, you can use broader or narrower search terms to result in different matches. So if you search a term and you don't find any matches, you might try a broader search to include more options. For instance, using a partial word search, like leaving off at the end of a word like berries, so that you'll see singular and plural matches. Or if you're unsure of how to spell a food name or an ingredient name, you could use the start of the words. So if you can never remember how to spell broccoli, just start with B-R-O-C. Frozen orange juice concentrate is an example shown here, just partial words, and then you'll see the matches that come up in the search results. And again, note here, you'll see the total items. I've circled that here in red. That provides a count of the items that match your search term. So it gives you feedback as you search what may be resulting in more matches versus fewer matches and narrowing down your searches. When you type in a term and press enter or select search, you will see all matches to that phrase. So one way to narrow that down is using the whole word search, also referred to as the dot search. So here you can enter a term followed by a period, and the software will find matches to that whole word. So the example you see here, if you type in TEA and press enter, the search results include all matches to that term, but also it includes phrases like steamed and steak. That might be a little too broad. However, if you type in TEA followed by a period, then the search is limited to names that include tea as a whole word, like tea leaves and iced tea. When adding ingredients to your software, we encourage you to include the product and supplier names to help you source and track in the items that you use, as well as provide another search term for finding those. Genesis offers fields specifically for product and supplier so that you don't have to include all of that supplier information in the ingredient name field itself. You have a few more columns or a few more fields to work with here. And in the ASHA database, we refer to the product field as the brand or the product line for that item. The supplier we refer to as the larger entities. That could be the manufacturer or the supplier or the source of the information, like we see with the government databases like USDA or Health Canada. And in Genesis, you'll see lists of products and suppliers from which to select if that's appropriate, but you can also add new product and supplier names to your software. There are a variety of code fields in Genesis to help you store and sort information as well. And you can use these in your searches. The ASHA code refers to an internal coding system that we use here at ASHA. So those are assigned to all ASHA database items. And the ingredients that you add to your software will not display an ASHA code. In addition to the color coding that I talked about earlier, where we saw darker green ingredients that you add to your software, the ASHA code is another way for you to know which ingredients are included in the ASHA database versus items that you have added to your own. There's the user code, and that is a user assigned field. That's something that you will determine and enter. And again, we encourage you to use the user code field as a way to help record and track information for your ingredients and recipes, but you can also assign user codes to ASHA database items that you use. Each user code must be unique, and that's regardless of ingredient or recipe. Any user code that you use must be unique. And you'll see government codes in the software. Those will be assigned to ingredients from our government collections. So again, like the USDA, Health Canada, USDA FNDDS collection. For those, you'll see a government code assigned for those items. And again, you can search by those codes. For some of the fields, you use the function keys to perform the searches, such as user codes, you'd use the F6 key, or government codes, the F11 key. Searching for recipes only, you can use the F7 key. If you want to search, so again, sorry, for recipes only, you would type in the recipe name and press F7. But I did want to note here the F8 key, that's the default search that Genesis uses, so it's not likely you would actually use the F8 key, it's just there for reference. But that is finding matches for ASHA code or for the names that you enter. One specific function search is the F5, or the nutrient search. And you can search the ingredients by nutrient content. So if you want to find items high in a certain nutrient or low in a certain nutrient or fitting into a desired nutrient level, you can use the F5 search. And when you use the search, you'll select the nutrient that you want to search and parameters for that search. So you can use less than, greater than, equal to indications, and a few others to search through nutrient levels. Within this search, you can set additional filters, so you can narrow it down even further by using specific search terms or select groups to search in. Another way to search names and codes is with the advanced search. So when you're searching for an ingredient, you'll see an advanced search button within the ingredient window. When you can see the fields and codes and filters that can be used when using the advanced search here. So that'll help you narrow down searches. And you can also see the and or options to include items that match all or any of your search terms. So it just gives you a bit more flexibility in pinpointing what you want to find. The advanced search is also available for recipes. So again, when you're searching in your recipes, you'll see an advanced search button. And that offers the same field and filter options with the recipe advanced search as the ingredient advanced search. But with recipes in addition, if you want to find the recipes that contain a specific ingredient, you can perform a where used search. So from the advanced search button and window, check the box for search within items for matches to the above criteria. So that's show me what matches all of the filters, the name and the other selections that I've made here in this advanced search. And once you perform that search, you'll have a list of items that contain a specific ingredient, the one that you searched for. Once you have that list, you may want to record it. You'll be able to export it as one of the options. So you could export that list of recipes so you have a record of which recipes initially contain the ingredient that you're looking for. And I mention that because the where used search often prefaces the search and replace. So we often get those questions hand in hand. I want to find these recipes that contain this ingredient, and now I want to replace that ingredient with another. So this might be due to a change in the supplier, or a change in product specs, or a change in the formulation. And while one approach would be to create a full new recipe using the new ingredient or the specs and using naming to version your different recipes, again here you can find and replace ingredients within existing recipes. So if you've already performed the where used search, and you have that list of recipes that contain the ingredient you're looking for, from the database menu in Genesis, you can choose the search and replace function to perform a swap of those ingredients. But I do want to mention the word of caution here that there's no undo button with the search and replace. So that's why we stress that step of saving the where used search so you have that original list of recipes before replacing the ingredient that you need to replace. And we've touched on groups in previous webinars, but again, groups in Genesis can be used to help you organize the many records that you'll create in your work. You can use groups to help filter when searching. And Genesis comes pre-populated with groups related to the database, sections related to food characteristics like gluten-free, vegan, kosher, and groups that are based on the food types. You can see a few of those here in this example. There's great flexibility in the concept of groups, and you can add as many groups as needed to your Genesis. So you might assign ingredients and recipes to groups based on the food types or the characteristics, or you might use groups to track workflow from concept to production, or you might create groups for specific projects or clients. It's really whatever you need to help categorize your files, and then again, the groups can be used to help search through all of your records. And as I showed before, when you use the advanced search, that's one way to work through or select groups that you want to include in your search. So at this time, I'll hand it over to Brian, and he'll show you some of these search methods and more in Genesis. And Brian, I can't hear you.
There we go. Sorry about that. We're going to start with the basic search, the F4 search. And so if I go in here and I just type in milk or whole milk, 3.25. So it's going to bring up the items with that using the name here. And I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to get to the same item. You can see that the ASHA code for this is 1 and that the USDA code is 1077. So if I go into advanced search here and I want to look for, I can actually go in and look by the government code. So I'm going to go in 1077 and search. And you're going to see that I actually have 2 different items with the same government code. The reason for that is that one is USDA and one is Canadian Nutrient File. So 2 different governmental agencies are using the same number. Now the way around this is to look at the ASHA code. So in this case, the ASHA code is just 1. I click search, and that's the single item that comes up from that. Just to show the dot searches, to demonstrate that, I'll use the exact example. So if I put in T and search, I'm going to get a lot of results with the word steak in them because there's a TA in there. If I change that to a dot search, so now I'm specifically looking for the word T, search, you can see that it's going to bring up items with T in there. So it's going to be specific to that. So again, the more specificity you use, the less results you'll get and the closer to what you're looking for is as well. Another thing I can do in here is I can go in and look for a supplier. And in my case, I use the Acme. So it's bringing up everything that's produced by Acme Flavors here. Now I can show you this in a little bit more detail. If I go into Heinz, you can see the difference between product and supplier here. So all of these items are supplied by the Heinz company, but they're under different brands. So they may be under Heinz, Classico, Weight Watchers, etc. So this is really the difference between your product and supplier. Final thing on this one is the code search. So if you have put in a user code, I can search by that. So I think I have one in here. Oops. Let me just check real quick. And it'll bring up the items under that user code there. So multiple ways to search under advanced. We'll get into groups in just a little bit, but you can see that you can actually bring the same item up multiple ways using this. Okay, the next search I'm going to do is a nutrient search. So I go into here, F5. I'm going to clear these out and show you how to set them up. So I'm going to select the nutrients that I'm looking for here. And in this case, I care about protein and I care about fat. So I'm going to click OK. For protein, I want this greater than or equal to 20 grams. And for fat, I want this to be less than or equal to 5 grams. So I'm looking for a lower fat, high protein solution here. Right? Click select and search. And so what it's done, if you look at the items here, it's going to show me the weight. So this is per 100-gram serving, the protein, and in this case, if I just pick this ahi here, it's 30 grams of protein per 113-gram serving, and the fat is 1 gram. I can also see this on the 100-gram here with the steamed 30.6 and 0.62. So there's lots of ways, and you can get more specific with this. You could add in, 4 variables. You could put that you want your weight to be exactly 100 grams, that you only want to look at those items. Lots of different things you can do with the nutrients search, as well as use it to help you to find ingredients to add to your recipes to get the nutritional aspects you want of it. Okay. One we get a lot and a lot of questions about is the where used. So I'm going to open a recipe here, do an advanced search, and I'm going to look by name. And in this case, I'm going to look at tomato and search from the items within this little box down here. So this is going to show me, oops, I have to spell it correctly. And search. There we go. This is going to show me the items that have tomato in it. Now I have multiple in here, so I may want to be more specific with it. So let me go into cherry. Let's see if I can do this. Cherry, tomato. So these are the items that just have cherry tomato in there. And if I open up one of these, you're going to see it right here, the heirloom tomato. Okay, so this is the where used. You can be specific as you want, and if you have a specific ingredient that you want to look up, I would use that exactly and to see where it's at. Now, the second part of this is the search and replace. And again, you use this with caution because there's not an undo for this. But I can go into database. I can look at my search and replace here. And in this case, I want to search and I want to find tomato. So I'm going to do that test cherry tomato here. And so what it's going to do is going to look for this and replace it with this item. So tomato. And I can put in a tomato paste here. Now, if I click OK, it is going to ask me if I want to do this. In this case, I don't, but it will automatically replace all of those items in the recipe with the new item that I'm requesting. So we're going to say no. And again, be very careful when using this, but it's a great way to do it if you're changing vendors on an item, or you're replacing across the board with a different flavor. Say like a vanilla flavor, you want to replace it with another one. You can do that. Okay. Final thing I want to show you is the group search, and this is really a useful one. So let me get to my recipe, do a search. Search, and now I'm going to look at groups. So I want to select by groups. I'm going to select baking ingredients here that are, oops, make sure I'm in the right one here. Let me do this as an ingredient. So home, open, ingredients, advanced search, and then I'm going to select baking ingredients that are dry mixes. Click OK. Search. And this is now bringing up all the baking mixes that are also considered dry mixes. So you can see I have, basically baking mixes from different suppliers through here. Now, what's really useful about this is you can get very specific with these groups, especially internally. So now I only want to look at breads and bakery. Let's see if that narrows it down. Narrows it down even more. So now I'm only looking at bread mixes. So you can see the group is very useful in taking large amounts of information and narrowing it down to get where you want to go. Again, you can search by the F keys, and if you go into search, it'll show you right here where they are. So this is a good reference just to look at. And as you get better with the system, you can do it more quickly. So I'm going to turn this back over to Alicia. This has just been a general overview of the search functions.
Thanks, Brian. And yeah, that was a really good point of The more that you use Genesis, the more you will become familiar with search terms and, again, we talked about the naming conventions that you use. So the more you're using it and more familiar with what to expect and the search results that are going to appear, that'll be helpful. But if you do need more instruction from the basics onto much more in-depth topics for Genesis, we regularly schedule full trainings on the software. So in addition to the webinars we present here, we also have full classes. They dive much deeper into working with the software features and the discussions on regulations, label creation, and get into specific scenarios, and is a great way to address questions that you have. We have 2-day professional and 1-day advanced level courses, or we combine these into a 3-day class option. The typical training covers fundamentals of using Genesis R&D as well as FDA label creation and regulations. Occasionally we offer USDA training or focus on restaurant training, so you'll want to just check the schedule if you're interested in those. And then the advanced day class builds upon the features and the topics covered in the professional class. It can be attended as a single day option if you've already attended the professional level course. At the beginning of November, we have in-person and online classes taking place, as you can see here. And at the end of November, beginning of December, we'll wrap up the year. I believe that's our last class for the year, with an online instruction available. The full training schedule, as well as registration and other details, are on the ASHA website, and look for additional classes being posted soon. If you have any questions or if you need training for your specific organization or group, get in touch with the training team. You can reach them at training@asha.com. They can set up customized training for your group. And you can stay in touch with ASHA in a variety of ways. If you need to get in touch with our sales, support, or consulting teams, reach out by phone or email. We also invite you to join in the ASHA LinkedIn community, and you can find additional resources and subscribe to our blog and newsletter on the ASHA website. So at this time, I'll turn it back to Brian for a little bit of Q&A.
See, we have a few questions here. The first one, will you be reviewing the latest update of Genesis?
And yes, as mentioned, our next webinar will cover Genesis 11.11. So register for that from the ASHA website, and that will be November 17th.
Okay. The next question is the USDA database still being updated?
The USDA SR, or the legacy database, is still valid and used, but as of a couple of years ago, the USDA announced that it was no longer being updated. It is still available. The USDA is publishing information through the Food Data Central website. So that houses the USDA legacy database, what used to be called the SR database. So it's USDA legacy database as well as a few other collections. So the USDA legacy database is as is. Is still included in Genesis. USDA is now publishing additional collections like Foundation Foods. The FNDDS for Dietary Studies database is also available through Food Data Central. We do pull some items from the FNDDS database and include those in Genesis, and we'll also continue monitoring the newer collections and add those items that are appropriate to include in Genesis.
Okay, the next question is, I know I added an ingredient recently, but I can't find it. Is there a way to find it?
There should be, yeah. So if you go to one of the search fields, like the search ingredient, and type in 0, just enter a 0, that will pull up the ingredients that you've entered, all ingredients that you've entered. And then on that screen, like we showed you with the display columns, you can see modified date and create dates are available columns to view there. So if you knew it was added recently, you could search or sort by the modified or the create date to find something that was recently added. But again, just type in 0 in that ingredient search field, and you'll find the items that you've added to your Genesis. So I believe that is the questions that have come in, And we're going to sign off today. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.